We're going to start with questions that we have here in the room. So with that, any questions for Coach Kelly?
You mentioned a couple times being impressed with Washington State's quarterback, and they obviously have the ability to stretch the field and throw deep. How are they creating those opportunities and take advantage of them? And how do you feel like you guys have been able to defend the deep pass so far this year?
They got two really good receivers, two big receivers in Wilson and Carstetter, I think it is. And I think Jeff's, he's got a lot of experience. He played all last year, and really one of the really good young quarterbacks in this league. And they're throwing the ball a lot. They're ranked 31st in the country right now in passing offense. So they're creating situations where those guys getting one-on-one situations. They're doing a real good job protecting the quarterback. But Toole's athletic enough that if there's a rush, he can get out of there and keep things alive. And he's a classic quarterback where he's looking to throw, but if you force him to run, he can reach him with his feet. So they look like they're a pass-first operation right now.
And on the other side of the coin, you guys have had some success attacking deep down the field. Kind of the conventional wisdom is a spread team's not going to be able to protect long enough to really throw deep. But you guys have created that. Is that teams having to respect a run that you're able to find some holes down the field and attack those?
I don't know what conventional wisdom you're talking about, but I mean, our offense is based upon taking what the defense gives us, and if you're going to overload the box and try to take away the run, then obviously there's going to be holes somewhere else, and it's always been that way. You go back to 2007 when we played Michigan, and they kept dropping a safety down in, and Dennis threw for 300 against those guys. Really, it doesn't matter what you do to us. I feel we got weapons, and that's what makes our team good. Is spread to us means that the ball has to be spread around, depending on where the defense doesn't defend it. And it really just becomes a mathematical formula. If they're going to take away the run game, they need to get more guys in the box. If they do that, they got less guys to defend in the pass. But if you're a one-dimensional team, teams are allowed to do that. But we're not a one-dimensional team. We can throw the ball equally as well as we can run the ball. Just pick what you want to do. In the game last Saturday was a prime example. We kept throwing the ball out the perimeter early because they were forcing us to throw the ball out the perimeter early. And then as they adjust and start to adjust and try to take some of that away, then the run game starts opening back up. So, you got to have weapons. You got to have a quarterback that can do that. You got to have a running back. You got to have an O-line. You need to be really balanced. And if we are balanced, that's when I think we're pretty dangerous.
Steve Summers?
What concerns do you have about the Washington State defense?
I think they're athletic. Hoffman Ellis is all over the field. They got two really good safeties. Travis Long is a very, very good defensive end. They're playing hard. I think it's their third year in the system. They get a pretty good understanding of what they're doing. So, we're going to get everybody's best shot. We prepare, against our own division. But we think, I really have a lot of respect for Paul's teams because they play hard, and that's what I think the mark of a well-coached team is how hard do they play, and they play extremely hard on the defensive side of the ball.
Steve Andrews?
Coach, one of the first things that Michael told us this year was he prided himself being a power back, and that's something a lot of people didn't view him as at the time. These last two games, really started to see him as a workhorse. Kind of talk about his style in that respect, and being that dual threat back in terms of not only being shifty, but also being a guy who's carrying.
Yeah, that's always been his style, so I don't know why he was never done that. We talk about that all the time. A lot of times, you've seen him really deliver a blow. He's a strong, explosive kid. And, he's the total package as a running back. It's I think people get caught up in trying to paint everybody with one brush and think he can only be one thing. I think he's got the speed to go the distance. He's got the speed to go outside, but he certainly can run up inside the tackles, and that's what you have to do to be a really, really good back in this offense.
Jim?
You mentioned that your offense is versatile enough to take advantage of whatever the defense is doing. How important is Darren Thompson's play been in doing that? How happy are you with the way he's sort of taken on that challenge and proven himself to be able to be a multiple threat quarterback?
It's critical. You have to have a multi-threat quarterback, and we want a quarterback who can run, not a running back who can throw, because there's going to be times where you got to throw the ball up, and he's getting better and better each week as he gets more experience. But it goes hand in hand. It's not just the quarterback. I think our receivers are playing fantastic right now in both facets. They're doing a great job blocking for each other when we continue to throw the ball out wide. They're catching the ball really well. We're protecting him very well. But Darren is, what you kind of saw on Saturday is what we need in our quarterback. He threw for 2 and change and ran for 100 and change. And it's really, how does the defense want? What do they want to do to try to take it away? And if you have enough weapons where you can make them defend the whole field, that's what makes this offense pretty versatile.
You guys are outscoring teams 114-7 in the second half. How do you explain that, and what adjustments are you seeing each week at halftime?
There's not a lot of adjustments that go on at halftime. It's really the first half of the game are what we prepared for what we're seeing. Did they do any wrinkles? If they did, what's our brief adjustment to that? But there's not a lot of wholesale changes that go on at halftime, and I just think the second half has a lot to do with our conditioning, a lot to do with how we practice, and our players have a lot of confidence no matter what the situation, because they know how hard they prepare, and I think that's what you're seeing. I think we have a lot of depth too, and I think that cumulative effect wears people down.
Sam?
Yes, the defense certainly has been doing an outstanding job the past couple of weeks in the second half. Talk a bit about what Nick Aliotti has meant to the coaching staff, as well as just overall for the football program here at the U of O.
Yeah, I think Nick's a tremendous football coach, and that's why when I was named the head coach, I made sure that Nick stayed here, and I wanted to be a part of this. I think he's one of the top defensive coordinators in the country. He's got a great football mind. He's a football junkie. And I can't say enough good words about him. I love working with him every day. He's got great personality. He's a tremendous recruiter. He's a great role model. He's everything you want in a football coach. And he's everything. He's one of the reasons I came to the University of Oregon. I get a chance to meet him and understanding what his background was all about was very similar to my background. And we have the same ideals and the same goals and the same aspirations. I think he's one of the tops in the country.
Jerry?
Coach, you knew you had coming back receiver-wise with Jeff Nail and DJ, but it seems like Darren Thomas has expanded his usage of his wide receivers. Is your depth really expanding there? DJ with the catch, LT?
Yeah, we still, those three guys were tremendous for us last year, and LT and Drew and Jeff, and now you add Huff to the mix because he's starting to just get better and get his feet underneath him. We still need some other guys to develop though. I think we can't, just last on the three starters and the one backup. We need some other guys to develop in that spot. But LT, Drew, and Jeff had great off seasons and have elevated their game, and I think that's a real credit to those guys in terms of what they've done.
Ken?
Yeah, your reaction to the Pac-10 reprimand, did you understand why it was given
I
to
have
you?
no comment.
Can you get?
I'm not going in. I'm not getting in trouble again. I have no comment.
Were you fined?
Am I fine?
Were you fined by the Pac-10?
No comment.
David Paulson, I think he's only been averaging 1 or 2 catches a week, but his impact seems to be far greater than that in this offense. You talked about his development.
Yeah, you got to have a tight end. You got to have a tight end that you can rely on, and that's the best thing about David is he's dependable. And again, it's part of what do people do to try to defend us. You're going to try to take away one aspect, and if you do, can you hurt them when they take everybody away but leave the tight end alone? When they do that, David's a big target for us. He's got great hands and is always making clutch catches for us. So, we feel we're solid at receiver. We have a great tight end. We have a great running back. We have a good quarterback. A good offensive line, and that's what I think really makes us hard to defend right now. Is that we have people at every position that can make you pay, and you just can't say, all right, let's take this away. Well, if you take this away, then someone else is left open, and when that person's left open, end of the first half against Tennessee. End of the half against Arizona State, David's come up with some big plays for us, and we need him for us to continue to be an explosive operation.
How's Brandon Williams doing?
He's doing better. He played last Saturday. He's still working with a club on his hand, but actually he's catching the ball pretty good. He has to concentrate a little bit more because of it. But he got back into the mix this past week and practiced. He played in our 2 tight end sets in what we used last week against Stanford, and we'll continue to see him develop. I think we still forget he's still a first-year player. That has only been in our system, was here for spring ball and then fall preseason camp. So, but each week I think you see Brandon expand a little bit more. You see the kind of the light bulb going on as the more reps he gets at it, and he's going to be integral for us as we continue to go down this road. We need to develop that more depth.
John?
Just wondering if you caught Patrick Chung's performance last night. Whether that's
We saw some of it, and you're really proud of Pat, and I know that a lot of coaches for the Patriots from being back there, and I know they just were really anticipating a big breakout year for Pat because of what an off season, and they talk about his work ethic and everything that he displayed here. He's now doing at the next level, and just really happy for him.
Steve, just following up on Michael, obviously you showed he can carry the ball 30 times a game. In a perfect world, would you like to maybe lower that a little bit, get Kenny on more involved?
Perfect world, I just want to win football games.
Does it, moving forward with Michael carrying the ball that many times, you have no problem like week in, week out?
Do I deal in hypotheticals, John? I have no idea. Depends on what happens in that game. Is it necessary for him to carry 30 times? Then we're going to do it. If it's not necessary, then we're not going to do it. But we don't go into a game and have a predetermined amount of carries because we don't know how a defense is going to deploy themselves against us and what they're going to try to do to stop us. Sometimes they can say, hey, we're going to do this, and he's not going to get as many carries, and the ball's going to be in other people's hands. So, we don't have a set number. haven't talked about it, never have, never will.
Steve?
Chip, following up on the Patrick Chung question last night, that was a real moment that changed the complexion of that game. And reflecting back on your team and how special teams have done this year, how much of a factor has special teams been in changing momentum?
They've been tremendous, and we talk about it all the time. You know, you have to be great in special teams. And you go back to the Washington game last year, we blocked a punt, and that kind of spurred us. The UCLA game, we returned a kickoff for a touchdown, and that spurred us. The Utah game, we got a punt return for a touchdown, and that spurred us. And you look at how our special teams have really been keys to what we're doing. It was the onside kick the other night, you know, or the punt at the end of the game that Jackson Rice pins him down. You know, there's a lot of different factors that go on, but you know, we have a lot of selfless guys that want to play special teams. That was the type of player Pat Chung was. Pat wanted to be on all 4 special teams. And a lot of our players want to do that. They fight to get on special teams, and that doesn't happen everywhere. But we've got a culture of where our players, it's all about we, not all about me, and they're willing to sacrifice and do whatever they can to play. And you know, Tom Osborne, I think, is as good as it gets in it. You know, you're seeing Pat flourish in the NFL, but I think a lot of that is because of his experience here. And it's key to football. Special teams can change the course of a game very, very quickly. You saw it last night. That's just a prime example.
George?
Going back to your previous answer, it sounds like you don't subscribe to any kind of a theory that a running back has a set number of carries in his career.
In his career?
Well, that, you know, clearly running back is one of those positions where in the NFL, for example, they don't last as long as other positions.
You don't coach in the NFL.
I understand that. I just wondered if is that, would you ever seek to moderate his number of carries?
It depends on, he's moderated every day by Gary Campbell. Gary Campbell's in charge of his reps every practice, knows exactly what he's doing, and handles that very well. And I'll take Gary Campbell over any running back coach in the country. He's been here 28 years, put his track record up against anybody. I think he does a tremendous job with it. There's going to be games where those guys carry it a lot. There's going to be other games where, you know, he didn't play after the beginning of the second quarter against Portland State. It just depends on what the game is going on at hand. So.
Ken?
Daryl Hawkins is back in practice. How nice is it to have him back? And is he a possibility? You talked about wanting to have more receiver depth. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, we'll plug Darrell in a couple different spots. You know, quarterback, running back, receiver, and then how it plays itself out in you know, obviously in just this week's game where he's going to be needed. But he was in practice today. He's back to full go. You know, and he played snaps at receiver, snap at running back. You know, and then practicing individuals with the quarterbacks, and that'll be really the operation with him, unless there's a couple of drastic injuries where he has to go somewhere full time. But his versatility, I think, lends itself that we can plug him into a couple different spots. But it is good to have him back because, you know, we need to continue to develop him back.
Maria, let's go to the phones. If there are any questions waiting.